Hey, everybody, welcome. Do you love comedy? Do you love to laugh? Well, buckle up because you're going to fucking cry your eyes out. Welcome to SmartLess.
SmartLess.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Sean, what a nice top you have on this morning.
Yeah. Oh, look.
What's it say? I can't read it.
It says SmartLess, and then
Okay.
it
Hayes 20.
says Hayes on the back. It's our
So
SmartLess
Hayes 20, what does it say,
tees.
22 on the back?
26.
26,
birthday,
that's your birth
26.
date,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well,
So
you're
it's
with
a
us,
SmartLess shirt. You can guess we're going to get the frickin' merch plug right at the top.
Yep, right there. It's right there. I'm wearing it.
It's good to know that. It's good to know that we make it in a double XL too.
Yeah, good for you.
You know what I mean? It's good.
You got both boobs tucked right in there.
Yeah, right.
No.
Bang, bang. Pow, pow. How's everybody feeling? Is everybody a little sleepy today?
Yeah, a little sleepy,
Yeah,
a little
it's
right.
a little early.
I could feel that. Yesterday, I'm in Tech Week. Oh, well, this is probably going to air after we open.
Well,
but-
what's Tech Week for? What are you talking about? Are you doing a
Yeah,
play
you busy
in New
doing
York
something?
at the Tabasco?
So at the Tabasco Theater.
It's so spicy, this show, y'all. You got to go check it out.
So stupid.
It's hot.
Anyway, the Belasco Theater, David Belasco was the owner. And this I just found out yesterday. I couldn't wait to share it with you guys. Actually, last night. Because we're working like 12, 14-hour days, whatever it is. And,
that's hard.
well, I don't know how many hours, but it's long hours.
Tough. A lot of people
And,
work.
Seems like you do know.
Yeah. And so this crew guy comes because everybody has these stories because there's an apartment on top of the theater.
Who now?
What's that?
Oh, the crew guy. I thought you
The
said
crew guy, yeah. The crew guy, there's an
I said,
apartment
oh,
on
the
top of
screw
the
guy
theater.
came, and I'm like, oh, these guys got a screw guy. All right, what can I?
I'm like, screw guy, please. And they just send one over right
Why did
away.
I send over the screw guy? So the screw guy gets there.
Oh, speaking of which,
Speaking of the screw guy.
Scotty got his cue.
You walked by just as I said, screw guy. Anyway,
I like seeing Scotty go by, just shuffle
There
by
he
in
goes,
his
screw guy.
shorts. Yeah.
And there he goes.
So anyway,
Okay, so this crew guy told me about this story because it's supposed to be haunted and blah, blah, blah sometimes. And so David Belasco, who owned the theater years and years and years ago, there's this apartment on top of the theater that's now abandoned and nothing's up there. But he used to live there, and there was an elevator shaft where he used to bring up, lady friends over and over, right? And so one of the ladies fell through the elevator shaft and died. It's now like boarded up. And people say, and they call her Lady in Blue because people say they can see her in the seats sometimes.
How do you fall through an elevator shaft?
I guess it was open and there was no elevator. I guess. I don't know.
Boy.
there was an episode of L.A. Law once. I'm not making it up. Where the guys, I swear to God, it was I just saw a clip of it recently, and they're having a conversation by the elevator door, and this woman like speaks really tersely to the guy. She's like, "So you better watch out." Blah blah blah. The elevator door is open. She walks into the elevator shaft and plunges to her death. And the guy's like, "Oh my God, it was on TV."
Sounds like
And that writer's room was like, what are we gonna do in this episode? How are we gonna?
Ever thought
Doors
through
open
that.
and she just falls through, just like the lady in blue.
Yeah, Lady in
Sean,
Blue.
have you hit fuck it yet on this play? So I mean, it's a long run, right?
It's been
These plays-
taxing for Jason and both Jason and me. It's been a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
So, but you haven't even started performances yet. You've been whacking away at it for how long now? You've already done it in Chicago for months and months and months.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now,
Fairly
because it's so good and was so well received, you take it to New York to the hot and spicy Tabasco, and you're in rehearsals right now. You haven't gotten to the point of like it's enough.
No, I mean, you as a
You're discovering new things about it every day, right?
yeah, you do
The
kind of.
surprise
and
guest just mentioned, just
the surprise guest just chimed in.
messaged us and said this is really interesting.
Interesting. So maybe we should just start.
Wow. I think it's a he has got comments on this too. Should we get right to him?
Let's
Yeah, I
get right
guess
to
so.
him.
I mean, by the way, should we mention the play's open now?
Yeah, I guess the play is open now. By the
Play's
time
open now
we
in New York
recorded
at
this,
the Belasco.
yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
what's it called? What's the play called?
yeah. Okay.
And
let's
did
just
I
start.
like it on opening night?
You would love it. It's called Good Night, Oscar.
Okay, there it is.
All right, good night. Is there a comma in there?
There is after night. And good
Good.
night, I didn't know is 2 words. I thought it was 1 word.
And if you find yourself at the theater, watch out for a gaping shaft.
Oh boy.
I'm just
wait,
saying.
I love
this is
that. Wait, God, we got to put that on the Sean list. So you thought good night was 1 word.
I did thought. Didn't you think it was one word?
Probably not. Just like good morning. Has good morning ever been one word? You know what else, listener? Hang on, Sean. Listener, Sean was shocked to learn that John F. Kennedy was not shot in Washington, D.C.
You
He was
said
shot
that
in
on
Dallas.
the last episode.
Yeah, because it's stunning to me. You know what else, listener, is stunning about Sean? He was really surprised that Beatles, the group, the band.
No.
Yes.
I'm not the only one that didn't know it meant beat on a drum.
B-E-A-T.
Sean, I'm just noticing you're in your place in New York right now, and you guys, you've been there for a month now, but you don't. In the last couple of years, you haven't spent a ton of time there.
No.
But in that back shelf there, did you guys go to Knickknacks or Us and just load up on the knickknacks?
It's a real tchotchke
It's such
haven.
a busy.
Hey, knick-knack patty whack.
Look
Give
at
the
your
guy a
spider
bone.
fern, too, up there on its
Busy.
own little...
That's nice, though.
And that's
You're
fake.
doing real well.
That's totally
That's
All
fake.
right,
nice.
quiet down.
Okay,
Here
let's
comes
do
a
it.
respectable
Okay, here we go.
guest. All right, we
Okay.
got a
Spider
fella.
thing is
Listen, this
Yep.
fella doesn't do this, okay? He doesn't do it at all. He's fine to keep quiet and do his work. And while I haven't asked him, my bet is that he's dreading this and that he's thrilled that a full 6 minutes and 15 seconds are already over without him having to talk.
Okay.
My job is to make this as painless and breezy as possible, and I need your help, man, because this is a Grammy award-winning artist from Puerto Rico, and he's got a black belt in karate, okay?
What?
Most folks, however, know him as one of the best actors of our generation, so please say hello to actually one of the kindest, warmest, friendliest, most humble fellas I know. Let's welcome Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
Whoa.
Come on.
Wow.
There he is.
There he is. Oh,
Good. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Wait, you're in a trailer, aren't you? Are you in a trailer?
Yeah, so I'm on set.
Ah.
oh, for the Joker, too.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to the Genny. You guys are on Genny Power right now.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's the generator.
Now, what? So then this is your lunch hour?
No, we're actually shooting kind of splits. So, we're going to start in a little bit. So I just came up a little early. The beat from Beatles, is that really for beat, like drums?
See,
Uh-oh.
see, you dick.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
I
exactly
was under the
right.
impression that had to do with the beat poets.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But no, it has to do with the beat. Sean,
I thought it was the bug.
Sean, real quick, because
no.
Joaquin mentioned it. Tell Tracy what splits are.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Yeah, you do.
bless him.
Bless him.
They don't do splits on Will and Grace.
No,
What are
It's
splits?
always sensible, the best hours in all
which is
of
like
showbiz.
it is the best. It's when
So
when
splits, listener, is when you start at noon and you end at midnight. As
Right,
opposed
basically.
to if you're going to
like-
shoot full nights, you start when the sun goes down and you end when the sun comes up. Splits is kind of a half day, half night shoot.
Yeah, that's
Right?
perfect. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Joaquin, I don't even know where to start, man. I don't know you at all. We've never met, and I'm such a fan. You're honestly,
Likewise.
it's just and I guess let's do it kind of like how we always. What I want to know was what was the first of all, because you've done so many amazing characters and so many great movies, but what was your first memory, your first job that you did?
First job I did was a guest starring spot on a TV show called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which my brother River starred in. And they were shooting in Northern California. And I think just by default, I think just because it was easy to get somebody local, me and my sister played the small part in the show. And I think that was probably my first significant job.
The one time I worked with River, were you not in it too? We did the thing about the Kennedys. We played like young Kennedys.
Yeah.
I
What was
barely
that?
remember. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it was like a movie of the week or something like that about Robert F. Kennedy and his times. Did you play one of the? Because you were so small, you probably couldn't even talk then, or maybe just barely. Because we were 10 or 11 or something like that, weren't we?
Yeah, so I was 6 or 7. No, I don't remember that. I vaguely do now that you mentioned it.
It was like out in Massachusetts.
But
or
I
something.
think the very first thing I did was that spot in Seven Brides, Seven Brothers.
And then so the So the acting to you, I'm not going to hammer you with your freaking method and all that stuff because I know you hate talking about that as do most.
I don't know what it is.
I know exactly. It's just well, that's what when people ask me.
No, I like that.
I guess my question is, when did you get a sense that this acting thing might be a really comfortable thing for you to do and not something that's going to be a lot of work? You know, that it's not going to be like hammering nails.
I wouldn't say that it's very comfortable, but I certainly don't care about that. I mean, I'm not looking for something that's comfortable. I'm looking for a unique experience.
Yeah, you get it though, right?
Well,
I mean,
wait, but when you see like Joaquin, when you see an actor talk about their process, and we've all seen it, and people get into it, and they want to like focus. First of all, I remember doing this thing once, and somebody was asking it like about. So we were doing BoJack Horseman, and I got kind of, I think I was kind of a dick, but they were like asking about the process, and I said, "Why is everybody so obsessed with how the sausage is made? Why can't they just enjoy the sausage?" Right? Like it's not that interesting. But then I see like you know, these actors who spend a lot of time, and you see them in these interviews, and they're talking about their process and stuff, and I'm kind of like, okay, man, like if you want accolades for what you're doing, and you want us to applaud the way you did it, like it seems a little self-serving.
I think you have to forgive like everybody when they're doing an interview.
That's true.
Because you're just like, it's virtually impossible not to be an asshole when you're doing an interview. At least for me, that's my experience. I mean, everybody fucking sounds stupid.
That's true.
There's just not a good way to come across. And oftentimes, like a lot of those quotes are from like when you've flown to go to like a film festival in Europe and you're jet lagged and you have like 100 interviews and you start off just going like, I'm not going to do any of that shit. And within 30 minutes, you're just like, whatever it takes, just get me the fuck out of here. I'll say anything. So like, yes, I read quotes or see interviews and I go, what a twat. Like, and I go, I've done so much worse. So I always feel like you have to give people like, I'm
with you on that, and that's totally fair enough. And yeah, like the interview and/or junket process is one of the worst. Sort of that you feel your soul leaving your body, and you think like every word you say, you're like, God, I hate myself so much for what I just said.
And you're trying to come up with different ways to answer the same freaking question, and you end up backing into a dumb answer.
I think that what I meant was more that there are people. It seems like they go out of their way to consistently talk about that, and you're like, okay, that's what I was referring to. However, having said that,
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I always think like, whatever it takes, whatever works for you. It doesn't really matter. And you know, I understand there are some roles that it feels like it requires you to. Okay, for me, every time I work, I know that I'm going to experience like an ungodly amount of humiliation. It's just how it's going to go. There's no way that I can get through it without being humiliated. And I think that's part of like letting go in some ways, right? Because it's kind of stupid. Like what we do is stupid.
And like surrendering to it.
It is embarrassing. And like it's really difficult to do some things because if you actually step out for a second and you're like objective and you look at yourself, you just cringe. It's so fucking embarrassing and stupid. So sometimes I understand like you have to. I find that I have to like rush right into it and just go like, just humiliate me right now, make me feel like nothing, and so that I'm willing to do this thing because if I really think about it, I'd just be so embarrassed that I won't be able to do any of it.
It's like the stand-up comic that goes out there on purpose and tries to bomb, you know, like to sort of rip off the Band-Aid and just like, I'm up here, I'm exposed, here are the jokes, or here's the non-joke, and that almost becomes a performance of just raw vulnerability and let's all get in it together. I always find incredibly
Well, Sean, you mentioned like surrender. There is that moment where you do have to surrender, and I think that you do. Like I watch you do all these characters in these movies over the last number of years, and I always, when I think about someone like you, I think like there's a guy who's like sensitive to the material. He's like, I would never want to be like, hey man, how did you do this scene. I'm like, he did a scene how he did the scene. You understood the material, you took it in, you were sensitive to it, and then you just like worked with the material that you were given, and that was your interpretation, that was your collaboration with the material. Like, full stop. Like,
right. And it's also like, journalists, critics, reporters, whatever, just kind of doing just enough of their job to get
maybe
you
that's
to fill in the blank. And so,
that's true.
with no thought behind it. I can't stand that. But so
now-
how did you lose the weight for Joker?
Here he comes.
It is Sean.
Here he comes. What about? Do you remember when you were growing up? You guys lived a very sort of atypical adolescence, like I did as well. How much of it do you remember? Do you remember what the policy was in your house about? Well, devices didn't exist back then, but TV and that, or was it the kind of house where go outside, find a rock, find a stick, and entertain yourself, like it kind of was in my house?
Yeah, I don't think we really had a TV until I was probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something like that. And I don't know, maybe a bit younger, maybe because we'd been working by then, but certainly when I was very young, I don't think there was even a TV in the house. But we did, there were 5 of us, right? So it's easy to entertain yourself when there's 5 kids, right?
Same.
And my dad was always really amazing at finding houses to rent that were always like, in LA, you can live, like we grew up in the valley for a lot, and there's houses that are like by government land, right? There's just like mountain ranges, right? Like that's the backyard. So suddenly you could go there, and so that's what we enjoyed doing, right? Just playing games and using our imagination. So that's what I remember.
What was that growing up? Forgive me, I don't know, Joaquin. Were you? So you mentioned growing up in the valley. So were you born in LA? Like that was?
No, born in Puerto Rico.
Oh, that was true.
Yeah, I was born in Puerto Rico.
Oh, really?
That was true. Let's see. I think first we lived in when we came to the States in Puerto Rico. We were in Florida, and then my mother was college roommates with Penny Marshall.
Oh, Penny Marshall, yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and Laverne and Shirley was very popular at the time, and my brother and sister, my older brother and sister, River and Rain, would, my brother learned to play guitar very young, and they would perform at like talent shows and stuff, and they were like winning these talent shows. And
No way.
so I think they felt like this, like, just this curiosity and natural progression towards like something in the entertainment field. My parents didn't really have a lot of experience with it, right? So I don't think they really knew, but I think that it seemed that the kids had, I don't know, I don't really want to say talent, but whatever the fuck it was, right? Some kind of like creative spark.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to support that. And so my mom actually reached out to Penny Marshall and said, we were thinking of coming to Los Angeles, and would you meet the kids? And I think she said, don't come out here. Right? 'Cause you can imagine, like, if somebody called you, like, from your past, like, you went to college, was like, hey, I have these kids, we want to come out and work, will you meet them?
And Penny's like, let me stop you there. Yeah.
No way.
Please don't come out. And I think we packed up the next day and I went to LA. And
That's fucking crazy. So what were your parents doing at the time that they're like in, I think you said Florida, like, well, what was going on?
My dad did like manual labor. Like he was like the groundskeeper for this wealthy man. I think it was like a recording producer. I can't remember his name. And there was a little guest house on the property where we lived. Whoa. And my dad took care of the grounds. And my mom was raising us. And then we went to Los Angeles. My mom started working at NBC for this amazing casting director named Joel Thurm.
Joel Thurm, that's right, at NBC.
And she worked there, and my dad took care of us, took care of the kids. And we met Joel.
By the way, let me stop you there just for 1 second. So Joel Thurm, for the listener and for you guys, if you guys, Sean, you may have met him, but
No.
maybe
Maybe
he
a
was
long
gone
time
by
ago.
then. But this was the office where when you were going in to do a network test, which for the listener, that's the last step before you get a series as an actor. And when you get a series, you're employed for years and years, and it's like winning the lottery. It's a high stakes thing. So that last audition, that last meeting in that office is Joel Thurm's office. So Joaquin's mom was on his desk. She was sitting at the desk right there where you're sitting waiting, just like dying with anxiety right before you're supposed to go in there. And it was like, to me, it's carved into my memory. That office, that lobby, that section right there was where most of my anxiety started
So
as
you're
a child.
so you're saying Joaquin's mom?
You- so
instilled
Joaquin's
massive-
mom
No,
was-
but she was this ray of sunshine, and she would. Every time I'd run into her, we'd have a very nice, warm hug and smile. Like,
love that.
You know that. Yeah, she's.
Wait, so
she was
Joaquin,
amazing.
so everybody was in it. Everybody was kind of in it or around it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we would go and visit, and Joel was always just so sweet. Like he would just set us up in his office, and we would watch. That's probably where I remember really being exposed to like TV and TV shows was in Joel's office because we would watch all the reruns. He had every tape of every
That's
NBC
so cool.
show.
Wow. That's so cool.
And it was just like the best time going there. And yeah, and I think we tried to do, I think he actually arranged for us to do a, like some recording, like a test to see if we could do like a show as a family. Right? It was like
No way.
try to do some kind of thing. Yeah.
Like the Partridge Family or something.
I guess some shit like that. And yes, he introduced us to Iris Burton, who was like the child actor agent.
Yeah.
And the only one that would take all 5 of us, because we'd met other agents.
was a package deal.
And they'd be like, I'll take those 2, I'll take that. She was like, I'll take them all.
Wow. Wow.
And
That's
so your interest in acting didn't really come as much from watching TV or watching movies, because you guys didn't do a ton of that when you were growing up in the house. It kind of came from once you moved to Los Angeles and you started to get this initial exposure to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just was an extension of the games that we played. Like, my dad was a fucking ham.
Yeah.
Like, he would do these skits like all the time. And again, because we didn't have TV, we just basically did like plays. So we would just make up these kind of scenarios and play them out, play dress up and, shit like that. So I think it just was an extension of that. And then I remember being on set. The energy on a set is like unmatched. It's incredible, right? There's just like 100 people that are all like brilliant in their own specific kind of craft.
Yeah.
Right. So you've prop people that it's like incredible what everyone does, right? And there's such I think everyone in the best case scenario, everyone's really excited about what they're doing, and they work really hard to kind of create this world. And that's a really interesting energy, and it's fucking fun as a kid. It's like, it's so exciting
like
to
team
be on a
sports.
set. So there was something that was just really enjoyable about it. And then I remember the first scene that that we did in this TV show in Seven Brothers, and one of the characters, Peter Horton, was the actor. And we had been friends with them, because we'd been there on set. And suddenly we're in the scene with him, and he's meant to get into a fight with the boyfriend of the woman that played our mother. And they get in this like fight, and they're rolling around the ground. And like, to an 8-year-old, shit felt very real, right? And he was like our friend, so we were worried about him. And I remember being like overcome with this emotion at what was happening. And I distinctly remember like physically buzzing from it. And it was such a powerful feeling because it wasn't real, it was safe, but like I like had this feeling course through my body. And I was like, I want more of that. It was so fucking exciting. And nothing has ever given me that feeling. Like, you're obviously safe because you're doing multiple takes. It's not the end of the world. It's a fucking movie, but it can feel so dangerous.
Yeah.
You feel like so much pressure because you're committing something, and it's gonna be around forever.
Yeah.
And there's something that just feels
Interesting.
like really exciting about that to
Yeah.
me still.
That's so interesting.
Hey, Joaquin, did you do any comedy? or
You're
is that-
always funny in what you do, even if it's a drama. You'll find the comedy because you
yeah,
play.
but no, like a pure. Have you ever done like a pure? Again, forgive me. Have you done like a pure comedy?
I remember seeing you in To Die For, and I thought that was darkly funny. I thought that was really
Darkly
good.
funny, yeah. Gus Van
oh
Sant
yeah,
knows how to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
To Die
yeah.
For with Nicole Kidman.
Yep,
I love that.
That was, I think, in the '90s, right? Was that a great experience?
It was a great experience. Well, I hadn't, the last acting that I'd done was when I was, I don't know, 14 or 15 in a movie called Parenthood. And then we moved out of Los Angeles, we moved to Florida. And I basically given up acting. I didn't think that I was going to act again. And then my brother really encouraged me to start acting again, and he was actually going to make a film, and he wanted me to play his brother, and I think that kind of sparked my renewed interest in it. And then To Die For came up, and I remember going and auditioning for it. I read that script, and I instantly had an idea of what I thought the character was, and went and auditioned for it. And I was always really fortunate. The directors that I worked with, a lot of them just didn't have ego and weren't desperate to like micromanage and control, and really encouraged me to bring my ideas to it and to discover it. I remember it really started with Ron Howard on Parenthood, and I was surprised at how curious he was about my thoughts and feelings about the character. So I didn't know that was allowed. And Gus was, the same thing where I remember him just saying like, it doesn't matter. Like things don't have to go right. Like whatever happens is a part of it, and it's okay. So don't worry about like any kind of rules in some ways. And there's a thing that you learn as a kid that you're supposed to pride yourself on, which is like hitting the mark and finding your light and knowing your lines. And I think that all of that stuff is like really dangerous because it just like leads to things being flat. Like when everybody is just like hitting their marks and we know what's going to happen take after take, you just like, it's just human nature. Like inevitably you just fall into something being like just rote. And I think it lacks like an energy and excitement. And we're in this like unique position where you can do multiple takes. So why not take advantage of it and, let it be something different each time within reason. And those are things that I learned from my early experiences. Like it's okay. I think because films are so expensive and there's so many moving parts, we like to try to control it as much as possible.
Where do you sit on that? Because I battle with this as an actor and also as a director sometimes about, how much you should just sort of pay attention to the natural thing of it, or how much you should adhere to the technical specifics of that particular shot. For instance, let's say the camera angle is really tight on you, and you're sitting down, and in the middle of the line you have to stand up, and because you're in a real tight shot, the cameraman asks you to stand up kind of slowly. Don't shoot up, because if you shoot up, I lose you in the camera. I can't keep up with you, and so they ask you to kind of come up with, sometimes they call it a Groucho, where you kind of come up kind of slow, like in a hunch. But certain actors, myself sometimes, I'll be like, well, no, I got to shoot up because I'm pissed off. Like, so either widen your shot or just anticipate it. How much do you, like, are there times when you're a little bit more cooperative with that than other times? I mean, I find myself in that sometimes I can't do it. As a director, sometimes I'll hesitate in even asking an actor to do it, but the shot might really need it. Where do you sit with all that stuff? The combination between the technical and the natural. in what you do?
I guess it depends. I mean, every film is different.
Yeah.
There's not really one way of approaching it, and there are times where I think it makes sense. That the other night we were shooting, and camera was behind me, and I was moving towards the other actor, and just from years of doing it, I knew to like widen out a little bit to like favor the right side so that it was clear on them. And I remember as I was doing it, I was so ashamed that
You were
I was
accommodating.
doing that.
Yeah.
I hated myself so much. And I was like, this means that I'm not in the fucking moment because
Right.
I'm aware the camera's there. And then afterwards, they were like, can you widen out a little bit? And I was like, oh, I thought I was already widening out
Right.
like as much as I was comfortable with. And I was fucking embarrassed.
Yeah.
And now you ask me to do it more.
It's kind of our job, though, isn't it? I mean, it's
It's
not
part
you
of
know,
it, though,
like,
right?
well,
I
yeah,
mean-
when you're doing theater, right, Sean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to accommodate the other part of the process, which is the camera or the lighting or something. Like
Right.
when we're doing movies or television, that
It's a
is
lot more
part of
elements.
it. And I feel bad for pushing back on that as an actor. Like, my performance needs to stay pure, and I don't even want to know about the camera.
but at every point of it is like if you're doing the show, Sean, I imagine like you're always thinking about don't upstage, make sure right, like you
Yeah,
make
all
sure
the
not to
time. You
upstage.
always play out. You have to play out, and then also
Constantly, so, like-
there's faces staring at you.
But it's distracting, right, Joaquin?
It
Like,
is.
it knocks you
But
out
you've
of
got
it.
this big monologue as Oscar Levant, and then you're doing this moment. At the same time, you're thinking like, "Fuck, can everybody hear me in the back row?" I'm sure you have those moments, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
But Joaquin,
terrifying.
it distracts you out of the performance, though, yes?
Well, I think the job is to be as true to the moment as possible, and sometimes that's easier than other times for whatever reason. Sometimes I watch like basketball players, and it's just like going in for them. And other times it seems like they're really working at it and focusing. It's just one of those things. Like sometimes you're in the flow, and there's nothing. Those are the best moments when somebody can be making noise off camera, talking, and you're not distracted by it. Like you could throw anything at you, and you're just in it,
Right.
Because you're just in the flow. And then there's other times where it's a bit more difficult. It feels like it's so artificial, everything that's happening. And I guess the job in some ways is to try to make it feel as organic as possible. And sometimes that's easier than other times. So I think if you're in it and you're in one of those moments, it's like, yeah, I can make that adjustment. It's not getting in the way. And there's other times where I go like, no, you have to adjust the camera because I can't do this. I don't really know why that happens.
It's that level, it's that thing you started talking about that level of discomfort and embarrassment of like, I have to kind of commit to this thing, and to really commit to it is kind of embarrassing. It's just weird as shit. And you're making that hard for me, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about because what I'm doing in this play is a big swing for the fences. It's like, this is embarrassing as all hell. Like I'm playing somebody that's nothing like me at all.
Yeah.
And then I see you, Joaquin, do that over and over again. I'm like, gosh, how in the world do you get past that feeling of humility and
Of
then
leaving
just, like,
yourself so
believing
fully,
yourself
yeah.
like over and over and over again. It's just kind of fascinating.
I wonder if the director, I would imagine, is a big part of it, right? I mean, you've worked with so many incredible directors that so clearly have, pardon the term, a vision and clear,
No, I'm
leadership.
not going to pardon the term. I'm not going to fucking do it.
But is that a big part of it for you when you're considering what to do next? Is it as much about the director as it is about the part, or is it more so?
I mean, the director is it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's kind of that simple, right? Because everything ultimately runs through them.
Yeah.
Right? Even if they're choosing the cinematographer and the editor, everyone that they're working with, they're ultimately saying yes or no to which take is being used.
Right.
Especially because, I like to approach each take differently sometimes. There's a lot of choices that the director has. And so you have to really trust them that they're going to make the right choices. Because sometimes I will do things that may not be right for the scene, and I'll know that. I'll know that this is probably not the right approach for the scene, but I'll do it partially just to change things up, just to put me in this place where I don't really know what's going to happen. It suddenly just opens it up, the possibilities. And there are times you go, fuck, I hope they don't use that one.
Right. Or if they use a little piece of that with one that's with a take that's more sort of normal, then it makes you look like a shit actor. So you really have to trust the ingredients that the director's going to use downstream when he's cooking things together, or she.
Yeah, or they make you look like a genius.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So you use a little piece of something and you're like, oh, that was actually from an earlier part in the scene. That wasn't even my reaction for that line.
Right.
But that's great editing. So yeah, the filmmaker's everything.
Yeah, you're so reliant on the taste of a director. Todd Phillips certainly has it in spades. And the film that's coming out right now, Ari Aster, he seems like a guy is just overflowing with genius. That trailer is stunning. I can't wait to see that film. This is called Beau is Afraid. Beau is Afraid. How was making that? Because for the listener, it's if you haven't seen the trailer, it's correct me if I'm wrong here, Joaquin. It's about a guy going to see his mom and the sort of the fear and sort of dreamscape or nightmarescape inside of his head as he approaches that event is where this film kind of takes us. Is that a shitty enough explanation of it?
Yeah, sounds good.
That's just what I gathered from the trailer, but it's it's very sort of fantastical, and I don't know. I love sort of Spike Jonze stuff and Charlie Kaufman stuff, and this seems in that world, and just another great example of that type of filmmaking. I'm so excited to see it. Did you love doing it?
I did love doing it. I have just great admiration for Ari and his approach, and very early on, I realized like how perceptive and observant he was. And sometimes there are some scenes where you think like, okay, well, I can get away with it, but like I have no choice, but I have to act through this, right? Because this would be very difficult to maintain this for like 6 hours.
Right.
So inevitably, there's gonna be a wide shot, and I'm gonna be acting in this one at the end of the day, And that happens every once in a while, and it's something you really want to avoid, and it's horrible, but sometimes you're just so fucking tired, and you can't do it. And again, the voice creeps in just going, this is stupid. What are you doing? Stop taking this seriously. Like, go home.
Yeah.
And so you have to fight that voice off, but it's very difficult if the filmmaker has that same voice and is also going like, hey, let's just come on and wrap this up. And I knew very early on that Ari was not that filmmaker.
Right.
And so I think that we were just constantly pushing each other to commit to it as much as possible. And so there was no kind of like, oh, let's cheat in this wide shot.
Right.
I mean, we did one wide shot that was like, it's so ridiculously wide, and it's such a brief moment, but I had to like, I wanted to like collapse in the take, and I couldn't just like drop to my knees. I just was like, it's like, this is just ridiculous.
It felt like too melodramatic or something.
To my knees. And it's stupid looking back on it. I was like, I could have just dropped to my knees and nobody would have known the difference. But I just felt like I was cheating if I did that. And
Wow. I love how honest you are about that. By the way, Jason, you asked him the question, like, how was it making? And then you, like, took a moment to really, so often people are like, yeah, it was great.
No, he's all honesty. I love it.
Yeah, well, no,
I
it's
love it
fucking
too.
great. And it reminds me, Sean, how many late nights have you been like, it's getting too late and you just got to drop to your knees? I mean, it's got to be
well, it
countless.
I don't need a
Gotta be fucking
reason. I
countless,
don't need the
man.
motivation.
Wait,
it gets me to sleep early.
You know what? It just reminded me, Joaquin, I was just thinking about years ago, I remember when Amy, my ex-wife, was still on SNL, and you came, I remember you came to SNL, and you were shooting, you were with Casey Affleck, and you guys were shooting.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Talk to me a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today. I don't know why. I was remembering actually going to SNL because there was an actor that I ran into in the hallway, and I can't remember who it was, or I just don't want to say. And I was kind of like doing my shit for that movie. And she's somebody that I worked with, and she seemed very shocked and concerned. And I remember like the look on her face. I so desperately wanted to tell her, like, it's okay, I'm okay, it's just a thing. So we like made this commitment that we weren't going to tell anybody that it wasn't real.
So, listener, this thing that he's talking about, I'm still here. It's this. This was a documentary about Joaquin quitting acting and becoming a rap star. And
Wait, I want to hear Joaquin tell it.
Well, but that in a nutshell.
No, you're doing great.
Everybody thought it was real. I had
Right.
no reason to think it wasn't real, and everyone was trying to be
Well,
very
except that I was like 35 saying I'm retiring from acting to be a rapper.
But that's what made it so
No.
electric, is because
Yeah.
everyone wanted to be really sensitive to, oh my God, what a tragic mistake this young actor is making.
I can just tell you that at SNL that night that I was there, you were there. It was like late 2008, I think. I think Archie just been born, and you were like, and I remember you were walking through and you guys were shooting stuff, and then I forget who the band was, and you guys came down onto the floor on 8H, and you guys are shooting it, and I remember everybody in the cast was like, what's going on? What is happening? Like nobody knew it was, like you really had everybody
The train wreck is coming through.
fooled, and like, yeah.
But you know, it wasn't to fool other people. Like what we discovered is like the moment somebody knew what was going on, that it wasn't real, I became terrible.
Right,
like,
right.
I started being like really hammy and like winking at the camera. And I think the whole trick was to try to get it to feel as real as possible. And so the only way that it felt real was when other people believed it was happening, and it forced me to try to play it as believably as possible. And so that's why we just didn't want to tell anybody, because there were some friends that, like actor friends that I would do some scenes with, and because they knew me so well, they figured it out, and I would inevitably just really start overdoing it. Just really kind of hamming it up. And so we just discovered like very early on that if somebody thought that it was real, it just made me embarrassed and scared.
Right.
And then I would just kind of be more internal with it, and I think more believable.
So then just don't tell anyone, right?
Yeah, and it was awkward and uncomfortable, and this girl that was this actress that was there, she emailed me like a couple of days later, and she just said like, I know what you're doing. And I was so relieved.
Yeah, right.
I was so relieved because I was so embarrassed about.
Did you respond?
You know,
Did you confirm?
I did not. I did not.
Yeah.
By the way, I tried to do this thing with this guy Bob, who's this writer, yesterday on set, and we were like, it's April Fool's, and we're like, and I don't do April, but I was like, he was like, just pretend to fire me in front of the crew, and I was like, okay, and then so we got later in the day, and I'd sort of forgotten about it, and then he walked out, and then we started this argument, and it got really awkward, but I had to commit to it because in the middle of it, I'm like, fuck, and it felt so like sort of status wise, I felt shitty,
Like an asshole.
Yeah, and I hated that feeling, and I was like, why don't you get the fuck out? Well, why'd you even bother showing up? If you're gonna just pitch me shitty jokes, then get the fuck. And I started going like that. Anyway, we sort of got to the end of it, and I finally said April Fool's after a few minutes, and the fucking crew, it got really quiet.
and it wasn't fun.
No.
Yeah.
And
It made them all feel uncomfortable.
it fucking sucked.
Wait,
Oh
Walk,
my
how did
God.
that all end up? I don't remember how that all
Yeah,
finished
that-
up.
yeah.
What was when did the curtain come down on all of that? Was it on the release of it or
Yeah, on the release. And at that point, we'd been shooting for like 2 years, I think, or a year and a
Jesus.
half or something. And I was, I had been so looking forward to this moment of saying like it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Because it had just been so uncomfortable. And I just had avoided so many friends because I just didn't know how to kind of like keep up the
2
ruse.
years.
And then, and I can't remember how we kind of, released it and said, oh, it wasn't real. Nobody believed us. They suddenly thought
Right.
like, oh yeah, of course, now after you fucked your career, you're trying to say that this is like this spoof.
oh,
this
they
joke,
thought you like had
'cause
regrets
you're trying to save your
and
career
come back.
now.
Oh my
No
God.
way.
And so I was like, oh, fucking can't win.
Can't win. But then you showed them what was up. What you came back with the master, right? Wasn't that what followed?
Well, that was I mean, the thing is that as a product of I'm Still Here, I think at that point, a lot of people that maybe would consider hiring me were like, even if it's not real, you have to be kind of fucking nuts to do this.
Yeah.
So
Right,
this is probably not somebody you want to work with, anyways. And I remember my options.
But PTA was like, bring it on.
Yeah, the options at the time were just left a lot to be desired in terms of work. And I remember
Really?
at one point just really being desperate and feeling like, well, I actually really fucked myself, and I can't get a job. And I was really considering doing this movie that was a terrible movie. And I knew it was terrible. But I was like, I just have to get back and show people that
Right.
this wasn't fucking real.
No fucking way.
And I almost did it. And actually, my agent, Boomer, who was he was the assistant of my original agent, Patrick Weitzel, and he'd started working with me. And at first I was like, oh, this fucking bait and switch. Like, I'm working with your assistant now. This is bullshit. And then I remember talking to Boomer and I was saying, look, man, I'm lost. I'm desperate. It's the first time in my life, like, I don't feel like I know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm asking for advice. I've never done that. I always really have a strong sense of like what I want to do. And he was like, do you have to do this movie? I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, does it matter to you? And I was like, no. He goes, well, then why are you doing it? And I really needed that at that moment. Like I felt so fucking lost
Yeah.
and confused.
Dude.
And it was a really important moment for me. And so I said no to the movie. And then a couple months later, Amanda Demi
Yeah.
reached out to me and she said, hey, Paul's trying to get in touch with you.
No way.
And he sent the script over. And I remember looking, through the script, and there was Freddie and Master. And I was like halfway through, and I was like, there's no way he's calling me for one of those parts.
No,
So
wow.
I called him. I said, what character am I supposed to read? Because I figured it was like something that pops up, for a couple scenes. And he was like, Freddie. And I didn't even finish the script, and I had to prevent myself from saying like, yes, right there. So it was like halfway through, and I was like, just fuck, yeah.
Dude.
I couldn't believe
That movie's
Wow.
too much.
he wanted me for that
That's so cool.
film.
No, that's
Wow.
before we let you go, I want to ask you just real quickly about Napoleon. And it's one of the movies I'm looking most forward to seeing coming up. It seems like that was a really robust shoot. I mean, period, and Ridley Scott and that subject matter. I mean, was it as epic as it sounds like? What can you tell us about that, if anything?
Yeah, it was. It was a fucking massive production. The amazing thing about Ridley is he's like overseeing this massive machine, right? Just like hundreds of extras,
Right.
8 cameras, these huge locations, and he can just pivot like that. Like you could arrive on set and make a discovery in the moment and feel like the scene is maybe leading in like a new direction, and he's just fine with, like, he will adjust the camera, he will adjust to the performance, like if there's something that feels
Wow.
honest and real and like a worthwhile exploration.
Turn a steamer ship around,
And
right?
it's so impressive to me, because I mean, I don't know how much we were spending a day, but it was a lot. And I had a great experience with him, all those years ago on Gladiator, and so I just was always wanted to work with him again.
That's so cool. I know we're going to let you go because you got to get back, but hearing you talk, I've never met you. I know you probably hate this, but I'm a huge fan of yours, and you are an inspiration to me and tons of other
I'm losing
actors.
so much respect for you.
Damn it,
I
Sean.
do. I know you hate that because it feels false, but it's not. You're married, you have a baby boy, you have purpose with animal rights activism, you have a great career, you have all this stuff going on in your life. Are you able to sit back and just kind of absorb all that? Or do you have a defense mechanism where you're just like, no, I know everything's great. I just got to keep going. I just got to keep going and challenge myself to the next thing. Or can you really sit back and absorb all the great things that have happened to you?
As you get older, it all becomes easier. Right? I'm fully cognizant of what a charmed life I have. It has exceeded my expectations or my greatest dreams. I'm so fucking grateful for what I have, the family and friends that I have, and the opportunity for work. I never imagined it would be like this, and it has been so fulfilling. So I really do appreciate it and value the opportunity that I've had.
Yeah.
But I still want more experiences.
Yeah.
I just love making films. I love collaborating with people. It's just like so exciting just to talk about makeup and hair, and like you're sitting around with all these like people that are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of like create something together.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible opportunity.
I love that you said that, because you said it before too, and you were talking about all the people on set, and I don't think people appreciate it enough. And I love that you said it. Is like, and I always think about it, like everybody on set, no matter what their job is, everybody's a filmmaker. Everybody is part of the process in that way. And I don't, and too often people you see people who sort of, I don't know, spend the time. They don't spend the time or the energy, and they sort of disregard those people. Like, motherfucker, every single person here is making this film together.
There's nobody there that doesn't have to be there.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's something a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
Well, Walk, you're incredible at it. Please keep going. We'll take twice as much. But I know you got a kid to raise, and Rooney to hang out with. She's awesome too. Please say hi to her. Thank her. She found us our dog. We got a brand new dog. She found us our dog Gary. He's a real cutie. We love you and thank you, and say hi to Todd and Larry, and have a great day of work. And
I hope this has been okay. I feel like it was. Like,
no, dude, it's been awesome. You've been very, very
Wait,
generous.
before you go, how do you get into Joker? No.
Yeah. See, we ended up talking about the process and nobody got hurt.
No, but in a good way. Thank you, man. Thank you for taking the time, especially
Thanks,
I know you're about
Joaquin.
to start work.
Very
so
nice
really
of you to
appreciate
do
it.
this, buddy, especially
Very
on a
nice.
work day.
No, thank you guys. Honestly, this was it was painless.
Painless,
Oh,
kind of.
We'll take
kind
it.
of.
We'll take it.
Well, when you're done, hurry home, and we'll talk some more.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
got
you,
it,
dude.
buddy.
Nice to
Okay,
meet
Have
you.
a good day.
See you,
Bye,
buddy.
Walk.
Bye.
Man,
Oh, amazing.
no, that's an
artist.
This is an actor. This is an
That's an
artist.
artist.
And did you know him,
guy-
Jason, for a long time?
Yes. Now we don't spend every day with one another by any stretch, but we've known each other for a long time. We've got some very close mutual friends, and he's a guy I would love to talk further with, deeply with, at length with. But as you can tell, he doesn't really enjoy talking about the stuff that we're all fascinated with about
Right.
him,
Right.
and that's probably why he's so goddamn good at what he does, is because
Yeah.
maybe he just doesn't care to look at, how the magic trick is done. It's something he's great at. It's something that he I enjoys.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I was getting at, and that, I put, and he was like, no, I forgive those people for talking about the process, but I meant more about the people who go out of their way. They're like, look at my process,
Right.
and it's so
Right.
difficult what I do.
Right.
That's what I meant, like.
When they offer it first, yeah.
Yeah, when they offer it first, and they're like, my whole identity is wrapped around how I do it. And I want everybody to know and to think that and be impressed by my process, which he is like couldn't be further removed from that. He's like, man, I don't want to tell you any
He's also
of it.
one of those actors I love watching and trying to understand what that character must be thinking. Like he's a very internal actor, and you kind of, if I knew what he was thinking and I knew how he was doing it, or if I knew that much about him, if he did a bunch of press and all that stuff, it'd be hard for me to buy him being somebody else. So I kind of like that he's mysterious.
Well, you watch him do like I was thinking the last thing I saw him in was Joker, and you watch him in that performance.
Amazing.
Incredible. And millions of people love it. Some people don't. Whatever you think, that when you watch him, he's so compelling, Jason, like you say, because you're like, what is he? He's so inhabiting it in those moments, and he has these moments where and you're watching and you're thinking like, exactly that. What is he thinking? How is he? Where is he now? Where is?
Because he's more into the work than all of the other stuff.
But he's also, I don't know. I mean, if
it sounds so fucking actory to say, but
he manages to do something that I love when I watch actors is their ability to communicate vulnerability and humanness and flaws and
humanity
and elements of being broken, because we're all broken. We're all vulnerable, but we all learn these different, skins of trying to like hide it. And he is so courageous, just as a person. He was talking about making a fool out of himself, of being kind of warts and all, like, look at all my flaws. And he finds those in every character, because that's all part of it, I suppose. It's just being not fully put together, with his characters.
He's only the second, but he is only the second guest we've had who is killing cigs during the interview.
Oh yeah, who was Sean Penn was the other one, right?
Yeah.
Killing cigs.
You haven't smoked yet during an interview, have you?
No, I did when I was in London. Remember, I was recording from London. I did a couple times.
So that was what was that called? If you smoke a cigarette over there,
crushing.
It's called
Not crushing butts, crushing. Don't say it. Don't say it. We'll have to lift it. We know what you're going to say.
Jesus,
don't
Sean.
say it.
I was
Don't
just
try to
curious.
bait
I don't
him.
know what it's
Sean,
called.
you're trying to bait him into a cancellation. Are you looking to recast? You're looking for a new third?
no, you can crush some fags over here. Just as
Wait,
easy.
Sean.
Oh, Jesus, Sean, for fuck's sake. What is wrong with you?
Well,
I'm talking
now,
about cigarettes.
what would the term be? What would the term be, though? Speaking of which, if you liked men and you liked women,
Yeah.
That
You'd
makes
be-
you...
Oh, that you would be bye,
guys.
We haven't done just a straight up buy yet. Wow.
I know.
SmartLess is 100% organic and artisanally handcrafted by Bennett Barbaco, Michael Grant Terry, and Rob Armjarf.
SmartLess.